Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. Now, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz visit to India has marked a significant milestone in the long-standing partnership between both the countries. Following Prime Minister Narendra Modi's return from the BRICS summit in Kazan, the two leaders met at the Hyderabad House in New Delhi to deepen bilateral cooperation. In a joint press meet, Prime Minister Modi highlighted the launch of the India-Germany Innovation and Technology Roadmap, underlining a comprehensive whole-of-government approach focused on critical and emerging technologies, skill development and innovation. The Prime Minister emphasized that this roadmap will bolster areas like artificial intelligence, semiconductor production and clean energy, and the key fields for future growth and sustainability as well. Chancellor Scholz reciprocated by sharing Germany's vision to attract skilled labour from India, with a groundbreaking increase in skilled visas from 20,000 to 90,000 annually. Scholz announced a unique India-specific agenda to address Germany's workforce needs, emphasizing collaboration in healthcare, in IT, care and sectors, and reflecting the high regard Germany holds for India as a partner. The Chancellor further underscored Germany's commitment to strengthening ties in sustainable technologies, green energy and semiconductor production, recognizing India as a pivotal hub for green hydrogen, which is a sector where German companies are keen to contribute to India's emerging success. Both the leaders affirmed their shared values and the importance of political solutions for global stability, stressing the need for a balanced multipolar world. Now, this is an interesting development that has taken place. Let's start our conversation. Ambassador Manju Seth on the telecast with me. Ambassador Seth, what are the key takeaways when Chancellor Olaf visits India for the third time since the time he was sworn in as Chancellor of Germany? We have had strong foundations laid when it comes to our bilateral and trade ties with the country. How do we move ahead in further growing them?
It's an important indication by the German government and by the German Chancellor of the importance and the excellent relations that both India and Germany have enjoyed. It's a very old relationship. Diplomatic relations have been there since I think 1951, and 25 years of our strategic partnership. So it's and there has been collaboration between India and Germany across sectors. Right from the time that IIT, I think Chennai, was established with German cooperation, and to now, where we are talking about innovation and new technologies, latest technology collaboration, green technology, sustainable development. All these new emerging areas are very, very challenging for everyone. You know, India has the skill set, the talent, and so they're going to talk about skill exchange, skill development, and skilled migration. So I think we have been talking to Europe for some time for skilled migration, but I think there's always been some resistance on the part of European countries. But I think Germany has understood the need for having skilled talent from India, and they have given made a special arrangement. And particularly today, in today's geopolitical shifts that are taking place and the new realities that are emerging, I think it is important that India and Germany is one of the important European Union members, and India and Germany can together, I think, with innovation and technology cooperation, and in everything, emerging technologies, IT, everywhere, you know, IT, AI, in every new technology that is emerging, I think we can make major contribution to these areas in research, in innovation, and in development of new technologies.
Absolutely.
And defense cooperation is again a very important aspect of our relationship, which has been ongoing for many years. And right now, as very rightly pointed out by the Prime Minister, we have the German naval ships, and we had a joint exercise. We've had the Air Force joint exercises recently. So I think all these collaborations and this talk of buying either submarines from Germany or from Spain. So all these developments, fast emerging developments, are a positive signal for the strength of our partnership.
Okay, absolutely. Professor Madhav Nalapat, very important. Now, Chancellor is going to be visiting Goa. Off the coast of Goa is where the German naval fleet is at this point of time docked in India. How can India and Germany collaborate and cooperate with each other when it comes to training, when it comes to activities that are performed in the Indian Ocean region?
Well, I'd like to say that I completely agree with Ambassador, and Germany has been very welcoming of Indian citizens going there, living there, working there. Frankly, Britain has not been 1/10 as welcoming as Germany in the recent past. And Germany has been extremely welcoming under Chancellor Scholz. And I think that's a very positive sign. And secondly, I fully agree with Ambassador. Our ties range across an entire spectrum. And very importantly, Megha, the Germans are not preachy. Now, you have some people from Britain or the United States, they're very preachy. They say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Germans are much less preachy. I mean, Chancellor Scholz, of course, has taken a very strong line on Ukraine, which is very different from that of India. But you won't find him trying to preach to India, oh, for God's sake, change your stand. So that is a very important point. And yes, I agree with you that the future, India and Germany need to work closely together, including in defense. For a simple reason, Germany is the most significant country in the European Union. Now, Chancellor Scholz, I think, made a wrong bet by believing the Americans and the British that Zelensky could recover the lands lost to Russia in 2014. He stood by while Nord Stream 2 was sabotaged, and he has made some wrong bets that have affected the German economy. So, the point of view of the German economy also, this is a very important visit. From the point of view of the Indian economy, this is a very important visit. I'd like to say that throughout the decades, from the 1950s, India and Germany have enjoyed a very cordial relationship, and very importantly, Megha, the Indian and German people have also enjoyed a very cordial relationship. Yeah. So I think I fully share the ambassador's optimism, and I'm very glad Chancellor Scholz has understood that for the last 2 or 3 years actually, and is working steadily towards a much closer cooperation with India. He is joined completely by Prime Minister Modi in this effort. Megha.
Okay. Dr. Swasti Rao, when we talk about India overtaking Germany in the coming months as the third largest economy, how do we at this point in time ensure that there is synergy between both the countries despite this competitive edge which Germany will have to at one point in time accept is inevitable with India's growing GDP?
Well, good evening to you, Megha. And the couple of things that we need to put into the right perspective. I think it is for actually saving and revamping Germany's competitive edge that Germany is actually making this outreach to India. Now, what you just said is very obvious. It is not just about India. Germany has been in recession for the last 2 consecutive years. In 2023, things were different. Everybody in the government tried to put it attributed to the after effect of the Ukraine war and all the energy prices and the instability. But in 2024, they had an assessment that it would be some sort of a growth. However, as the year is drawing to a close, it's very clear that even this year, the economy is in recession, it's contracted. Now, why has it contracted? This is not just got to do with Ukraine war or the rise or instability of energy prices. These reasons are extremely structural. In fact, if you read my op-ed today, I have argued that Germany has been in a structural decline for almost this last 1 decade, where when they were having a better time economically, they chose not to really invest in the critical areas of infrastructure modernization, innovation, technology, etc. Okay, so they were very risk averse, they were very resistant to change. As a result, they lost their competitive edge. If you look at the if you look at the ranking, so 10 years ago, Germany was among the top 5 in the world when it came to competitive, edge. Now it is ranking somewhere around 20th. or 21st. So what I'm saying is that, and then that's one part, that Germany is in a structural decline. This has got nothing to do with what happened in last 2 years or 1 year. Secondly, if you also see the kind of responses that Germany has been having, which are very, very praiseworthy. If you see, it all started from having this Indo-Pacific strategy, which came out around 2021. In that Indo-Pacific strategy, they made a very clear, reiteration how Germany's economic security is contingent upon the security of the sea lanes of communication in South China Sea. And as a result, Germany was expected to increase its presence out there. Please remember that unlike France, Germany is not a resident power of the Indo-Pacific. It doesn't have military deployments or naval deployments, okay? So for them, it was a new thing. Then they followed it up with what they called a national security strategy, which was, of course, about how they want to go about the defense modernization, etc. And it reflected on the post-Ukraine, challenges in Europe and in Germany, which was followed shortly after that, and this is last year, by their national China strategy. Now, China strategy made it very clear that while on the one hand, it is not possible for them to decouple completely, but they have to de-risk. And for them, de-risking is equal to basically creating more resilient supply chains. This came last year in July. And this year, they have come out with something which is India in focus. So when you connect all these dots, you understand that Germany is very well aware of its dependence on China, and especially the big industries, Mercedes, Volkswagen, BS, yeah. But at the same time, Germany is pivoting to Indo-Pacific, looking at building, trustworthy supply chains with a country like India, trying to increase its investment. And also, one has to understand the investment bit very importantly. While all the China plus one diversification was expected to come to India, it never really came to India. It actually went to Vietnam, Singapore, etc. Except for Apple, you don't really have a success story. Why did that happen? That happened because, of course, we also have some structural challenges, and we don't want to completely, trust the Europeans with blind eyes when it comes to investments, okay? So we are taking our own time. But in the midst of that, I think it is for the Germans to also live up to what they have been saying and actually start investing in India.
Okay.
And that would be
and
one of
then
the
that has been the pitch that has been made by the Prime Minister when that consultation address that was being made by the intergovernment consultation address that was being made by the Prime Minister, and Chancellor Olaf was also present, and he's spoken about how there is a need for German companies to invest further, set up their plants. There are already, if I could put out those names, Audi and Deutsche Bank and DHL, you have Dalmar India, they're all present in India, and they have a massive presence over here. These plants are multi-million dollar companies that have been set up, and they're manufacturing as well. But Professor Nalapat, a significant exchange that happens between Germany and India. Number one, on one hand, you have technology transfer that takes place in India, investment coming in, pouring in, FDI pouring in into India. And on the other hand, there is the skilled labor. And there was very important mention that, out of, from 20,000 skilled labor visas being processed, it has increased tremendously to 90,000 in the last 12 months. And the growing Indian population in Germany is then a remarkable development that has taken place. And what does this convey about how Indians are looking at Germany as a very lucrative option to move overseas?
Well, Megha, I'd like to point out that Indians are being welcomed in Germany. I mean, I know people, young people especially, who have been there, and they find the Germans extremely friendly to them as Indians, and that is a very welcome sign. You don't have the kind of xenophobia that is present, unfortunately, in some elements of German society, but overall the German people are very friendly to India. And yes, I agree with the discussion that India has not so far managed to attract a sufficient number of units that are relocated from China. And part of the reason is the complete lack of knowledge about India. Many of these countries have very little knowledge about India, and their knowledge of India is based on the 70s, 80s, and to some extent the 90s, where we had a half-hearted kind of bid for reform that was torpedoed by the Congress party itself, and Prime Minister Rao could not go forward with it. Then, of course, you had Vajpayee, but he didn't have a majority, so he could not do several things. But now you've got Prime Minister Modi is into his third term, And he understands very clearly the importance of reform. And if you don't reform, quite frankly, the demographic dividend is going to be a disaster. So I think India is very conscious of these issues. And so far as Germany is concerned, well, it took a very green stand on nuclear energy that it is now reconsidering. And so far as Ukraine is concerned, the effect of blocking Russian supplies to Germany has been quite significant. I mean, I have talked to about 15, 16 people involved in German industry, and they're all very clear that they're suffering immensely as a consequence of the blockage by Germany and other European countries of energy imports from Russia. In that way, India has taken a practical stand. We have met a lot of our energy requirements from Russia, at the same time downsizing our defense. Defense, let me tell you, Megha, is a sensitive subject. Technology is a sensitive subject, and both are connected with dual use. One can use technology in war, one can use, and of course, obviously, defense is a weapon of war. So from that point of view, what we call friendshoring has been there and gathering pace over the last 5 or 6 years. And friendshoring means relocating from countries that are clearly hostile to you or can be expected to be hostile in the future, and countries that are friendly to you. And from that point of view, India as a member of the Quad, India as a very strong partner in very many matters of the United States and other major democracies, I think India is an obvious choice. So I think this particular period of next 2 or 3 years is going to see address the problem that the previous discussant talked about.
Yeah.
And I do believe that that problem is on its way to being settled. But yes, it's a work in progress, and it's a work that needs to have continuous effort, which I think is taking place now. And Germany coming here, the business delegations coming here, is a signal that they recognize the change that has taken place. Thank you, Megha.
Right, absolutely. Ambassador Manju, it's an interesting development that has taken place. On one hand, countries like Canada are cutting down on providing visas to foreign nationals. There you have countries like Germany and America and others which are desirous of skilled labor from India to come and settle and work in their respective countries, keeping in mind that their GDPs at this point of time are slowing down, their aging population is more in number versus the working population, and they need skilled labor. The people, whether for it's doctors or engineers or working in the IT industry, are something that is the need of the hour for these countries to then, if they were to be even remotely get their GDPs to the level that they were pre-COVID.
Absolutely, and yes, I think Canada has not, should I say lost the plot or lost its direction at the moment, because it seems to be that its leadership does not understand the import or the consequences of their action, and I think they will have further problems if they continue along that path, not only vis-a-vis India, but, in general, the kind of policies that they are following are detrimental, I feel, to Canada's interests. But coming back to Germany and other countries in Europe and the US, etc., yes, we have, taken this, we have taken the right steps, and these countries are also recognizing that India is not the India of the 70s, 80s and 90s. It's very rightly mentioned by Professor Nalapat. It is a new India, yes, but I will add a caveat there that, yes, we are not still, it's not like a one-stop, one window kind of stop and where you get everything done in very, very quickly, because our procedures and our processes need to be further streamlined, need to be further, shortened. But I think there are these built-in safeguards in all our processes, so that it doesn't, it does not harm or cause any undue, unexpected harm or fallout of these people who are coming to invest. Because we've had experiences in the past when these investments ostensibly were for economic reasons, but there were always some other thing. They were being used for other efforts, let me put it. So I think we have been very careful. But yes, it is changing, and I think it's changing in the right direction. And we are facilitating many more investments to come in. I think Germany has understood that, and as have some other countries. And the US is, I think, yes and no kind of situation. They have understood, but they understand India's importance, but they are still hedging their bets, should I say, by still continuing to support Canadian action or Canadian policies, or encouraging Canadian policies against India. But I don't know the exact, direction in which this is headed. But yes, India and Germany definitely have a very positive kind of relationship at the moment, and resilience, supply chain resilience, will be one of the factors in this relationship, and of course, skilled labor. And as you rightly said, medical, IT, in every sector we have a lot of skilled labor, and already we are I should say, many of our skilled labor have gone out into different countries, into the Middle East, into Europe. As you well know, the UK NHS is almost has a huge number of Indian doctors and Indian nurses and Indian medical paramedic staff, so support staff. So we are already there, but Germany has understood this requirement of their people, because the populations are decreasing, people are migrating out, and up till now they've been encouraging migrants who are semi-skilled or unskilled, and I think they have understood that it has backfired in some ways on them, and they now are looking at only skilled talent, because they've seen how the US has benefited from skilled talent from all over the world, including from India.
Yeah. Okay.
And now their approach is also changing, and I think it is a welcome move.
Dr. Swasti Rao, when you talk about, when Germany and India are concerned, and we look back at our decades-old ties, it has been smooth sailing for the most part, whether it was Angela Merkel during his era as the Chancellor and her relationship with Prime Minister Modi and the previous governments, or for that matter, the current Chancellor Olaf. However, there have been, minor irritants, especially when that episode with the Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock, took place, and I think that was just a minor hiccup in the largely very cooperative, smooth relationship that both countries have. You think that's just a blip and should be completely ignored for the larger good of the trade ties, diplomatic ties? Strategy wise, Germany becomes extremely important for India, particularly when it comes to defense.
Yeah. So, well, very quickly, of course, when it comes to Germany, we have always seen, and especially under, the current Chancellor as well. I mean, India, there was no reason for them to be so outward looking, but also we must also understand that even without an FTA and without the restriction of their arms controls that they did after Boris Pistorius had come, specifically that had a context of the post-Russia-Ukraine war. And even before that, Germany has always been India's biggest trade partner. If you look at through the European Investment Bank, if you look at the developmental projects that the German firms have been doing in India, it's actually quite impressive. It's another thing that they really do not know how to brand themselves, okay, in a way which gives them more favorable perceptions from the public. So that's a different thing. But however, coming to this convergence, yes, of course, we need to understand a couple of things here. That I do the one thing that is going to really help German ability to actually live up to these promises is how they internally handle the question of their debt. Please understand that with a country in recession and with already having a constitutional framework where they cannot really increase their debt break. If you see, I mean, until last year, December somewhere, Olaf Scholz's government had run into trouble because they wanted to shift certain funds from COVID to, energy transition, etc., and social welfare. So in Germany, because the institutions are so strong that you can't really do it. And right now, when you speak to the Germans, they say that no, there is money. We can do more borrowing, but only provided that the Constitution of, the Constitution and the Supreme Court. I'm sorry, the Supreme Court allows for that kind of thing to happen. So, whether that thing will happen, I am hopeful because this is actually the need of the hour. So, I am personally hopeful that Germany will be able to break through of this particular problem and will be able to live up to these promises. However, this is something that only time can tell. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Second
right.
thing is about, yeah, and something very important. You see, it's not just about getting so many, so many economic, so to say, business leaders with you. That's not just the point. One of the people, if you ask somebody who's actually served and who's actually been having any experience of the German bureaucracy, the stringent German bureaucracy, they'll tell you that the problem is actually, again, a deeper, which is that even if the government were to take, for example, the federal government were to take a decision, the Federal Export Control Office, which is called BAFA, that might sit on it and it might not let it pass. So basically, we have to create more enabling frameworks in better communication,
Right.
smoothen down, and have this G2G contact. Why do you think our G2G, deals with the US and with the France fly better than they have done with Germany, despite the fact that the convergence perhaps is even greater because of already such great economic ties? So these are certain things that that we need to be taking care of, and which is always in the fine print. Because when it comes to larger convergence, of course there is larger convergence. There is now, after 2-3 years of war, there is an acceptance that India has an independent approach to Russia-Ukraine war. Similarly, India has also accepted that yes, for Europe, they are taking a different approach.
No, that's absolutely. I don't think that there's any confusion whatsoever in how India reflects upon when the West, including other European nations and the NATO alliances, are taking a stance against Russia. I think it does not perturb India one bit, and should not perturb Germany and other European nations, or for that matter NATO allies at all as well. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast. And on that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching NewsX.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.